Welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. It is a Tuesday night, the day after Christmas, and because nobody really gets to say these words very much, we had to bring on Jimmy Champ to talk about the Cleveland Browns are going to be in the playoffs, Jimmy.
Yes, we don't know where, but we know they are going to the playoffs, which is absolutely incredible. Can't wait to talk about it a little bit here, bud.
Yeah, and I can hear people screaming like they haven't officially clinched. They're going to make it. They're in great shape. They are currently sitting 10-5. They're 2 games up on everybody. So they just win a game, you're good. You play the Bengals. Some of those teams can lose and you can still be fine. You've got good tiebreakers. They should be fine.
Yeah, I definitely think they will beat the Bengals, but I am not super happy about this game coming up Thursday night, though, bro. I am concerned.
Well, let's get right into it. The Cleveland Browns are hosting the New York Jets. They are 7-point home favorites, minus 335 on their money line, plus 260 on the Jets. Over/under on this sits at 36.5. Get into it, Jimmy. What has you scared about this game?
So, we have talked all year about how, the rest of the media talks about like 15 different teams like they are a top 5 defense.
Yes.
We know how good the Cleveland Browns defense is. We watch it every week. I know there are a lot of people who don't go to the bars and watch other games. There are a lot of people who don't pay for the Sunday ticket, like myself. They don't watch a whole lot of other football other than the 3 main games shown on the 3 main channels. I can tell you, statistically and from the eye test, in every metric except for one, the Jets are like the exact same team as the Cleveland Browns defensively. They may not have Myles Garrett, but they have enough other guys to make up for it. The only thing the Jets are bad at is stopping the run, which is the one thing the Cleveland Browns can't do.
Yeah, lately they've just been incapable of running the football.
And I know that's a product of they don't really trust their running backs. They know their offensive linemen aren't good, and Joe Flacco is slinging the football. So we're going to let him keep slinging the football. But sacks, interceptions, passing yards per game that we know the Browns are great at, the Jets are within like 10 yards, 4 sacks, and 2 interceptions of being the exact same defense as the Cleveland Browns. The one thing the Jets do better than the Cleveland Browns, which they're third at in the league, are quarterback pressures. The Jets are going to pressure Joe Flacco every time he drops back to throw the football. And that terrifies me. Like, that scares me.
Well, that's fair.
It's
just because we've seen Joe Flacco in those situations kind of just implode. And it needs to be said. We've said it before, but like we have made a lot of money betting against Joe Flacco in the playoffs over the years. Like that was just a really good source of income, as good as the Flacco over that I've been advocating for every week.
Yeah, and it just, that was a very good win against a Texans team that was almost as battered and bruised as the Cleveland Browns. And during the game, their 2 best defensive players also went out. So I'm super happy with that it really, even in the fourth quarter, it didn't really get close. It sucked you had to bring the starters back in, but it never really got close. But
no, it never felt like the game was in danger.
That's not the same Texans team you may see in the playoffs. So I do want to,
Yeah, well, I sent you a text message, and when we talked on the pod, I was so caught up in how bad they'd been on the road defensively that I let that overrule what we know to 100% be true. If the Cleveland Browns are playing a team with a quarterback who can't push the ball down the field, they're going to just smother that team defensively. Like they can just play press coverage, they can play up, they can send extra dudes, they can just do a number of things that make it impossible for that team to move the football. And it's just that is something that we need to remember moving forward, and especially into the playoffs, where they may play some teams that aren't going to push the ball down the field. So I was looking at their schedule here, Jimmy, because they're on a 3-game win streak, and they had lost 2 before that, and then they won 3. So they lose to the Broncos when the Broncos were playing their best ball of the season, and they lost to the Rams. And the Rams, I don't know, man, can they beat San Francisco in a playoff game? Sure, why not? After what we just saw Baltimore do to the Ravens, what we saw Baltimore do to San Francisco, hell, I don't know. The Jaguars win doesn't really impress me because of what we now know about the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence isn't right. He's playing pretty poorly. And it just seems like the Jags overall continue to be not as good as we think they should be.
Yes.
Actually, I think the Bears win was pretty impressive based on what we've seen Justin Fields do the last couple of weeks. That dude's playing really good football. They had to come from behind to get that win. They did it. Like, that was a team that was fighting them, and they came back and beat them. That was, I think that's the most impressive win of this streak, because everybody's now talking about the Browns as Super Bowl contenders, and I just don't understand what beating the Texans with Case Keenum as their quarterback, how
I have no idea.
That individual data point should not be taking them from out of the Super Bowl conversation to into the Super Bowl conversation. So it is getting a little silly, but Joe Flacco is playing the best football of his career, Jimmy. I mean, this is every bit as good as what he was doing when they won the Super Bowl. He's turning the ball over more, but
it's
because of the way the game is now. Yeah, but because of the way the game is now, if they're going to connect on this many shots downfield, I can live with the 2 picks.
Yeah.
Especially with how good the defense is playing.
Yeah, I am with you. I don't understand. I don't understand how I agree with you. I don't understand how beating Case Keenum and a Texans team that is just as beat up as the Browns, and it's almost like the Texans' injuries were newer, so they're not used to playing with the replacements like the Browns.
Yeah, they couldn't plan for it.
Have gotten accustomed to. But like I said, it was a complete victory. It was good, but I agree with you. I don't know. For me, I look at the other AFC playoff teams, and I feel like the Browns, what the Browns have right now, they're not going to be able to beat, in my opinion, the teams they're going to play in the playoffs. They may be able to sneak one, but I just think you're going to play better teams in the playoffs than the teams you've played for the last month. Because at this point, it wouldn't surprise me if the Colts or Texans end up winning the AFC South. and the Jaguars don't even make the playoffs.
My bank account hopes not.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you, but it wouldn't surprise me. But,
and I do think there's something, though, Browns. I can hear Browns fans saying, well, we beat the Ravens. I think the Ravens took their foot off the gas because they thought they were the same old Browns. And I think the reason they were throwing in that circumstance was they were trying to clown Cleveland. And I'm really happy to report that the Browns didn't let that happen.
Yeah.
They let it happen for years and years and years, and they put their foot down, and they didn't let it happen that time. So the question is, when Baltimore isn't trying to clown them and fucks up and finds out, you're not going to catch them unawares next time. They're going to be playing really well.
Okay.
And what I'm super interested in Thursday night, what if the Browns can't hit those deep shots downfield? Because you talked about how much they've been struggling running the football. What is the offense going to look like when they're not connecting on those long passes? Because they're going to have to do it at some point. They're not going to be able to keep just airing it out like this against teams in the playoffs, at least. So what do you think? Can they run the ball against this Jets defense?
I don't think Stefanski's going to try to run the ball. That's where the rub is. That's where the problem is for me. Yeah. And I don't. He is.
This game plays into his worst tendencies because that's what the Jets want you to do. They want you to drop back and pass.
Yeah, yeah. We know the Browns blitz a little bit. They don't blitz a lot, but they blitz a little bit. But we know, we watch Browns games and we see guys hurrying the quarterback all game long. the Jets have 20 more quarterback hurries on the season than the Cleveland Browns do.
Yeah.
If you drop back and pass 40 times against this Jets defense, they're going to create turnovers and they're going to hit Joe Flacco. And I don't believe, like we saw yesterday, really good offenses get totally rattled and knocked out of sorts by pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah.
Offenses that I think are better than the Cleveland Browns offense. And I think if the O-line cannot keep Flacco clean, I don't think you can beat the Jets. The Jets aren't going to score a lot of points.
No, they're not. Because everything you just said about Joe Flacco, we can say about Trevor Siemian. Because
absolutely.
He played okay against Washington. He was abysmal against the Dolphins. He's Trevor Siemian. And this defense should be more than capable of containing Trevor Siemian. That 7's a big number, man.
Yeah,
that's a big number. But Trevor Siemian in Cleveland, under the lights, that stadium's going to be a fucking madhouse.
Oh, and it falls into right to what you've talked about, is the fan base has intimidated teams all year long.
Oh, yeah. I think they are nasty. I don't even think it's so much the nastiness and sort of the attitude. I think it's just loud.
It's so loud.
And like a lot of these guys, like what do you think the fan base is like in Arizona for that team? What do you think it is? We always joke about how the Chargers play an entire road schedule because most teams have a bigger fan base that buys tickets in LA than their fan base.
Yep. So I hope the Browns are able to connect a couple deep shots early, and I hope they're able to get up again like they did against the Texans and just milk that lead.
Yeah. I mean, that would be what they would hope to do, but the problem is they're having trouble milking the lead because they're struggling to run the ball. They can't run the ball.
Do you
think a healthier Bitonio? I mean, there's no help coming on the tackles.
No.
Like the situation of the tackles is what it is. There is no, like, nobody's coming back.
No, I just think it's schematically it's exactly what Kevin Stefanski wants to do. I don't think he wants to run the ball. I think he is perfectly fine throwing the ball 42 times a game and running it 10. And I think he's just good with that.
I think you're 100% correct about that, which is perfect because that gets us into the Flacco parlay. His over-under is only at 230.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see attempts here. Well, boo. The touchdown's 1.5 gives me a little pause just because the Jets are pretty good. But the Jets gave up 28 to the Commanders, man.
Yeah.
30 to the Dolphins, 30 to the Texans. The woeful Falcons only scored 13, but before that, the Dolphins 34, the Bills 32. The Raiders only put 16. They stink. The Chargers put 27 on them the week before that, and the Chargers have been super up and down. I like the Browns here to win, man. I don't know if they're going to cover that 7. I can't advise anybody to bet Joe Flacco as a 7-point favorite against a okay defense. But it wouldn't surprise me if this game ends up being like 24-9 or 24-6 or something like that. So I like the over, which I think is crazy in a game like this. But I like the over, and I like the Browns to win, probably by 10.
I hope you're right. I can't.
They can't. This isn't a game that they should lose. They're basically playing the same team they played last week with a little bit better defense. So maybe you don't see the explosion of points, but I don't see how the Jets are going to be able to really move the ball. I mean, I know Hall's got going a couple of times this year, but the Browns have done a great job holding up in the run. And all of a sudden they get some legitimate defensive tackles in there and they can hold up against the run better. Who could have fucking guessed that, Jimmy?
Oh, it's like they needed to get better in the middle of the defense.
Who could have thought?
Who could have thought that?
And because those guys are there, it's making up for some of the deficiencies that we both think they have at linebacker. It's letting JOK only have to do the things, or not only, but mostly do the things he's good at. He's good at attacking downfield.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to make a lot of decisions or figure things out in space. He can just pick a spot and attack, and he's so good at that. And the way Schwartz has the defense set up, man, I think they're going to cause a lot of problems for the Jets. I think the fans are going to cause a lot of problems for the Jets. I think it's going to be a fun night in Cleveland. I think people are just be safe out there on New Year's. Either way this goes, but especially if they win, be safe out there. Don't get too crazy. We know how you Cleveland fans are.
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome spot for the team to be in, to have total control of destiny. And like I said, I'm not 100% sure they will beat the Jets. I'm 100% sure they will beat this Bengals team that's going to be out there.
Have you heard any updates on Jamar Chase?
No, I have not.
Man, did Jake Browning look?
Yeah.
Didn't he look pretty pedestrian without Jamar Chase out there?
Yeah, it took Chase away, and it wasn't as good. But yeah, I think, like I said, but it's going to be, man, this is going to again. But I think now, especially just like with the way media is talking about it, like over the next 2 weeks, Kevin Stefanski can go ahead and secure himself another Coach of the Year. And that's an incredible thing for an organization that is used to turning coaches over every 3 or 4 years. Having a coach
I think it's if Stefanski gets the Coach of the Year award, he should turn around and hand it to Schwartz.
Oh, I agree.
Because that's the guy that deserves to be Coach of the Year.
I absolutely agree with you.
He's been the difference maker.
But the offense, man, you just can't say, you really cannot. It's still surprising, but you cannot say enough about the play of Flacco and Amari Cooper yesterday. 2 days ago.
Oh yeah, they're on right now, man. They're on a great heater.
It was incredible, but what we have seen all year, and it's something we've talked about in Cleveland, is they've kind of avoided it, but they've just done it in a little bit different cycles. We have seen a lot of players this year who have been great for 3 and 4 game stretches, and then those players fall off a cliff. And
sometimes it happens within a single game, like the Dallas game, when they just stopped moving CeeDee Lamb around the field. Yeah. And all of a sudden he disappeared from the offense.
Yeah. So I just that's the I think
those are the concerns. I think those are legitimate concerns. I can hear a lot of Browns fans screaming at us, but I mean, this is a gambling show. Like, people are putting their money on the line here. If you're putting your money on the line, don't do it because you have hope with something.
Right.
That's how you lose money and go broke.
Yeah, it's just because there is no alternative, right? Right now, the Cleveland Browns are winning football games because Joe Flacco is playing like a top 5 to top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He's making elite level throws at every level. The beat up offensive line is protecting him.
Yeah.
But it doesn't appear there's a way for them to win if Joe Flacco isn't great.
Yeah, and that's a problem in the playoffs, as we have talked about before.
Like, you have just about every team you're going to play in the playoffs has at least one shutdown corner, and most of them have a pretty good pass rush. And they're going to look at the Cleveland Browns and go, okay, they can't run the ball, they won't run the ball. All we got to do is try to take
the
away
one-dimensional
Amari Cooper.
thing.
If we can limit Njoku, take away Cooper, they can't beat us. And that concerns me.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot this year and last year. If you become one-dimensional, teams shut you down real quick.
Yep.
Especially in the playoffs. When you
point,
make your quarterback be Superman all the time, like, do we expect Joe Flacco to continue at 39 years old to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league?
Apparently.
I'm not. I mean, he's clearly done it for a couple of weeks now.
Yes.
There's no denying that.
Nope.
The question is, can he do it for another month and a half?
and that's a big ask of Joe Flacco.
Especially when we've made so much money betting against them in the playoffs in the past.
But man, this defense, this is.
Hey, I guess the defense is Super Bowl worthy because they're winning them games where some of these games the offense has blown up, some of the games they haven't. But regardless, they're winning games for this team, and they just shut somebody down and they make it easy. And you need these types of easy weeks if you're going to make deep playoff runs.
Yep. Yeah, it's been incredible. It's been incredible to watch Jim Schwartz's defense this year. Because he's had injuries on that side of the ball too. He's moved players around, and he's just done an incredible job. But then I also think, kudos to Andrew Berry for bringing in players who have played well. Like, there's just been a lot of just individual times where just guys on the defense, especially the defensive line, have just went out and won when they needed to. And they have found ways for the last month to stop momentum from shifting against them.
You know what, they've been able, when they have the three cornerbacks out there.
Yeah.
When you have Emerson, Newsome, and Ward.
Yeah.
It covers up a lot of other problems. And they've been playing so well lately. Kansas City doesn't scare me, man. Like, if I'm the Browns, Kansas City doesn't scare me. Patrick Mahomes scares me. But, like, the Browns secondary isn't going to be worried. You can double Kelsey and go single coverage on those other receivers, and the cornerbacks can stick with them. And it's just a question of how much pressure can you put on Mahomes. Because he looks rattled right now, man. He doesn't trust the guys around him.
Yeah, I think
he doesn't look like he trusts his line, and that's if you don't trust your line, like that's you're gonna have a bad time, man.
Well, apparently, me and you are gonna have interesting conversations if that becomes a playoff game. Because if you think I'm taking Kevin Stefanski and Joe Flacco over Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, you're fucking crazy.
I mean, they already beat Jacksonville, and Jacksonville looks like they're trying to give away the division.
Yeah.
I still think Baltimore's better. I think Baltimore just runs the ball like they would in a playoff game. They win that game against Cleveland, and we're not talking about a pick six leading to a great comeback.
Yep.
And Miami, man, since they got Jalen Ramsey back, they're different.
That's like, because to me it feels like that's a very logical first-round matchup, and I think it's a horrible matchup for Cleveland.
Yeah, they got so many weapons.
I think the Dolphins are a really bad matchup because I think Jalen Ramsey eliminates Amari Cooper. So then what happens offensively? And I agree with you, the secondary they've played great for a month. I don't know what they look like against that offense.
There is what we saw earlier where Greg Schwartz's defense do seem to match up well against what Shanahan likes to do, and that's what Mike McDaniel is. Yep,
that's true.
Miami might not even win that division because they got Baltimore next week.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a game where Cleveland fans are going to be rooting for Miami just to have some hope of winning the division, although I would expect Baltimore to win the week after that.
Yes.
They are playing excellent. They just beat the San Francisco 49ers. Like, they kicked the shit out of them.
Well, I really love, offensively, Lamar was great, probably wrapped up the MVP. But I actually loved what Patrick Queen said after the game. He said, San Francisco doesn't expect anybody to be able to tackle them for 4 quarters, and we proved to the world we could.
Yeah. And it's
the truth, and they did.
They had some guys out against the Browns, but the Browns hit them.
Yeah.
And when you can get them out of their rhythm and hit them, and it's a thing now. Like, the Kyle Shanahan is not good trailing in the fourth quarter. His record is abysmal. It always has been. And I just real quick, I can't believe we're having the same discussion this year that we had about Jimmy Garoppolo last year. Like, the fact that another just dude came off the street and looks great in this offense is proof that it's the system.
Yeah.
And if they had a quarterback that could operate outside of that system when they need him to, then they'd be unstoppable. But right now they got Brock Purdy, which makes them vulnerable. And it is a super wide open year, man. And we've talked about it before. Like, Cleveland fans, you're going to do it anyway. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but why not? Why not the Browns? Like, any of these other teams are thinking the same thing. Why not you too?
Yeah, well,
I'm not saying it makes sense. The season hasn't made sense.
No, it hasn't. A lot of weird things have happened. I think right now, I mean, if they make it there, I think Buffalo, since they found a run game, looks dangerous.
That's a scary team. Yeah,
that's a scary team.
I sort of talked about the matchup with the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are still the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I understand people want to see the downfall of the Chiefs. I get it, but I don't think the Chiefs that you saw play the Raiders are going to be the same Chiefs team that is going to be in the playoffs.
I don't know. That I worry about attrition with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think our boy Sully, when he filled in with us, man, I think he hit it on the head. I think just having you haven't even tried to replace Tyreek, and then the loss of Eric Bieniemy is clearly showing its head.
Yeah, I also think it's tough to be the best team.
To be that good for sustainable years?
Yeah, they've hosted 5 straight conference championship games. Like, there's a reason there's, one other team has done that?
Yeah.
Like, it's just hard to be good for a long period of time. Other teams catch up with you. Other teams are going, all right, well, they're doing that. Let's steal that. Or they've done it enough in practice during their prep for playing you that they found a few things. And that's where I want to wrap up here, Jimmy. Was Joe Flacco sitting on his couch, and did he just, did something click? Did he see something in how teams are playing defenses now, and he's like, I know how to beat that?
No. Do you feel Joe Flacco is doing anything different right now than he did when he won Super Bowl with the Ravens?
No, he's just throwing the ball all over the place, and hopefully it doesn't get intercepted.
I don't think it's that deep. I just think he's rested, and he's got a ton of arm strength right now.
And he hasn't been hit much. That's huge.
And he hasn't been hit much. And I think that's just, I do believe that's really key for any team, but I think with Flacco's age and his lack of mobility, I think it's even more vital.
Yeah.
I think they've got to keep him clean.
We got to see. So those are the 2 big questions we're looking for on Thursday night. You've got the Jets?
Yeah, I think the Jets cover the 7.
Okay. Do you think they win?
I think there's a chance the Jets do win the game. I really do. I think if the Jets won the game
30, 34, 1-3.
Yep. Something like that. It just wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Because the Browns are...
Well, nothing would surprise me anymore this year.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I don't know. We'll find out how good of a coaching staff the Jets have coming into this.
Yeah, well, I like the Browns this week. Like I said, I think they win by 10. I wouldn't be surprised if they win by 14-21.
Woo!
Would
that not be the greatest thing for them to lock up a playoff spot with a win like that?
On Thursday night at home.
Yep.
I know the Cleveland Browns have been losing this game for 40 fucking years.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these are the new Browns. Baker Mayfield put a lot of that shit to bed. There's some consistency in the coaching staff and the front office. And I think this is one of those seasons where we're seeing some of that faith and consistency pay off. Yep. Like, a lot of other teams are still trying to figure this out. The Browns have been through this a couple of times now. So everybody kind of knows where they need to fill in. I think the crowd's going to be electric. I think they're going to intimidate the Jets. I love the defense against the Jets. Give me the Flacco parlay. Let's see if we can run it 5 weeks in a row. Why not?
Wow.
The only thing I'm looking at is, instead of doing normally I just do the straight over touchdowns, which is 1.5, and that is paying out plus 146, which is, it's been minus the last couple of weeks, which tells you even the sharps think the defense is a little better.
Yeah.
Which is probably why his over-under sits at 230.5 for yards. I would look at doing the don't even bother. Plus one touchdown is minus 650 for Flacco, so don't even bother putting that in your parlay.
Yeah, stay away from that.
So if you're not comfortable with the 1.5, just keep that out of the parlay, and maybe this is the week you bet the attempts.
Yeah.
Or not the attempts, sorry. You bet the attempts and you bet completions because
Yes,
they're probably going to have to throw a
passes.
lot, but I think he's going to have to complete a lot of passes too. So this is a week he probably completes 30-plus passes and throws the ball maybe 50 times.
So, okay. So here's my question.
Why am I betting on Joe Flacco? I ask myself that every week.
Yeah, no, I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but because this is the thing. So let's say they come out the first drive and they try that bomb and it's an interception.
Yeah.
And then they come out that second drive and they go 3 and out. Maybe the Jets get 2 field goals. And you're down 6-0. What do you think? Now, in that situation, I will say Flacco's experience is going to leave him to not panic. Will Stefanski panic? Will he start doing dumb Kevin Stefanski shit? Or do you think he finally has a quarterback he trusts and just say, okay, just stay the same, run the plays we're running, let's get it done?
Man, I just don't know. This is why
this
is why I don't trust Kevin Stefanski. We talk about it all the time. Is he going to, if you're going to do some every time they do this razzle dazzle, like, can you take a shot, please?
Yeah.
Like, if you've been saving it all up,
will you please
at some point you got to cash that in. And okay, you can save it for the playoffs, I guess. But when we get to the playoffs, if I see all that razzle dazzle and it's for a 7-yard screen pass, I'm gonna pull my fucking hair out.
Yeah. How about just one time you snap the ball to Kareem Hunt and let him throw it?
It's been effective in the past. He's thrown a couple of passes if memory serves.
Because him running into the defensive tackles out of Wildcat ain't working real well right now. So
yeah, and I know a lot, not just you and I, but I know a lot of people that we all just hold our breath every time they try to do a reverse or an end around or any of those things where the ball's being tossed around.
Yeah.
At least none of those plays will occur with PJ Walker on the field. He won't even be in uniform on the sidelines, so that's a good thing.
Well, will he be though?
Oh God, they're not. Oh my God, that's right. DTR's out for the year now.
So Walker may be the backup again.
No.
I mean,
they can't bring back PJ Walker.
Well, who the hell? It's gotta be, bro.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's too cruel for their backup to have to be PJ Walker. There's got to be somebody on a practice squad that you can poach.
But
isn't fucking he's the third string up in Minnesota now. Like you say, we bring Dobbs back as the backup. Dobbs on back.
Yeah, but it really is a kudos to Andrew Berry, kudos to Kevin Stefanski. As much as I don't like his in-game play calling, but what they have done to get to this point to where they're pretty much the amount of things that I'm not going to say the words that were about to come out of my mouth, but most likely the Cleveland Browns are already in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So kudos to them for dealing with these injuries. And then hopefully in a couple weeks after the first playoff win, we can have a conversation about next year about the quarterback position. So, because that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, there's a to be continued for you right there.
Yeah, but this is a huge game. And please, if you're going to the stadium, like I've said, please be safe. But, be loud, be proud, man. Make it happen for the Browns out there, guys.
Yeah, and when they're showing pictures of people celebrating in downtown Cleveland, if they win, don't be turning cars over, man.
Yeah.
Keep it clean out there, Cleveland. We're better than that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me to talk Browns tonight. Like, we got a Thursday night game, so we we'll talk the rest of the games later in the week, brother.
Absolutely, man. No place I'd rather be, brother.
And we want to thank all of you for listening. It's pretty crazy when the Browns are making playoff pushes. We don't get to do this pretty often, and it's a lot of fun when they do. Even if we're not thinking Super Bowl, y'all go ahead and think Super Bowl. It's fine.
We're good with it. We're just trying to make money.
Yeah, be happy. Yeah, we're just trying to make money. So for Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore, and we are No Broken Legs.